Hey, church and friends of St. Patrick's, great to be with you. I just wanted to share two observations and a prayer request this week. First observation is actually around our collect, and I want to read it for you. This is the collect we'll be reading Sunday, but I want to share with you early and notice a couple of things that jumped out to me. It starts off with this: "Oh God, you know that we are set in the midst of many grave dangers, and because of the frailty of our nature, we cannot always stand upright." That word upright is a very frequently used word in Old Testament and New Testament to describe whether somebody is doing and living the right way, whether they can live righteously or holy like God is living righteously or holy. And so this is not just about the nature of our physical body, but also our soul and our mind to be able to follow after what God wills. And you see that actually what happens next in the collect. That's exactly where it goes. It says, "Grant that your strength and protection may support us in all dangers and carry us through every temptation." You see, there it is. It's not just our physical frailty, but that also affects, and we have a spirit frailty, if that works. We have a very difficult time following after God's will. I don't know if you're like me, but when I go to church on Sunday and I get fired up and I'm at communion and hearing the word and whatever, my spiritual life is so much better. And then the work week starts and I do feel almost like I am beset. That's a word that we use on a regular basis, that life is difficult. And to then be a good worker or a good husband or a good father or a good friend, that's a whole different thing. Following after God's law, I am frail. So we not only depend on God for our salvation, but we depend on God for this constant strength to stand upright, right? So just an observation. Second observation, I'm noticing a shift in our church. This is kind of like a praise. You know, when we started, it was built upon really a few people doing most of the work. Now, everybody has done a lot of work, but sometimes the burden of a church or a ministry can fall on one or two people, and I'm one of those, obviously. But something happened over the past couple of weeks, a couple of times, where I noticed our people sharing the load, not just in setting up chairs and doing set up and tear down or whatever, but praying for one another, sharing each other's burdens. And it was such an incredible thing to see what God is doing in St. Patrick's, that we are truly becoming a community, a unit and a group of people who depend on one another and can rely on one another. So just a really cool thing I wanted to share with you guys. One last thing, and this is the prayer request kind of tied into this. This is the time of year that churches often, and certainly our pattern, is to start thinking about what's the vision for 2023. Asking the question, what does God have in store for St. Patrick's? I and Jake and some of our core team will meet and we'll be discussing this thing, but would you be praying for us, praying specifically for that? What does God have in store for St. Patrick's? I'd really appreciate that. And if you're around, I hope to see you on Sunday at 10 a.m. Or if you know somebody who's looking for a church, send them our way. God bless. Have a great week.